Anytime you're building something of substance, you need to count the costs and create a clear vision. Once the vision is clear, then you want to start planning and setting goals to achieve the thing that you're wanting to do. I've seen some people get started with no plan, and that ends poorly. I've also seen people who have spent all their time planning and never actually got started because they're too scared to step out. There's a lot of things that has to be done when you're starting a business. I'm not going to get into how to set up a business and all of that, but once you get the business going and you found the product market fit, then it's time to start executing. Now, I did not grow up in an environment where there was a lot of just natural conversations happening about business other than just a couple people. But I surrounded myself intentionally with people who loved business. Now, some of that, they came into my life, and sometimes I sought them out and went into their life. But what I learned in those environments is how to think and how to plan and how to set goals. And I didn't learn all of that at a young age. Some of that I learned later on by seeking out people even online and working with people like my brother and other high-level businessmen who just were successful, and I got to watch how they processed and how they plotted out their plan. My brother's a great example. He spent years and years planning and plotting out. He could see where he was going, although it wasn't really clear to me if he was going to be able to achieve it or even the direction. It didn't all make sense to me, but in his mind, it all made sense. And by watching him do that and then be successful, it helps me learn how to plan for the future and set goals. For a quick recap, we moved to Colorado about 5 years ago. By the second year, we were already hitting $1 million in revenue. The next big milestone that we have is to reach $10 million. And so I tell people all the time when I came to Colorado, I was aggressively optimistic. I had a plan and I was able to execute on that plan, and I'm still executing. And I'm gonna go over some of the things that we put in place and what it looks like to grow to 10 million and what hopefully it's gonna look like to grow beyond. So when building a blueprint, a framework to achieve your goals, it's good to know, or necessary to know, where you're going. So currently, like I said before, we're headed to $10 million, but I ultimately want a net worth of $100 million. So here are some of the things that I've put in place to help me achieve those goals. Here are a couple goals. These are more short-term in the next couple years, and then I'm gonna go into stuff that we're doing to help build for the future. You could say, well, aren't those the same thing? Well, one, I've kind of created two different buckets. One is actionables that we're going to do right away and that we're actively pursuing. The other is more brand building and futuristic things that we're going to take pieces of. So we may have this idea that we're going to do something over here, and so it's like, all right, well, what do we need to achieve that thing? Rather than just trying to grab that whole thing, what we're going to do is we're going to pull little threads off of it and say, all right, part of that is doing videos, part of that is doing more speaking, part of that is this. And so we start taking it in bite-sized pieces so we can build for the future. So here are a few things that we're currently doing in Colorado. We're gonna hire 2 or 3 more salespeople. Each salesperson should be able to do several $1 million in revenue, and so that will help us get closer to our $10 million goal. We're gonna hire a project manager. For about every $3 million we do in revenue, we probably need 1 project manager. And so quickly after hiring a salesperson, we're gonna have to hire a project manager. Then we're gonna need to hire a sales assistant because we're gonna have more people to follow up with. So as soon as we get another salesperson and we're starting to do more projects, we're gonna need more admin help or follow-up help in the office. Then we're gonna need to hire additional help on the bookkeeping side. This may look like hiring a full-time bookkeeping assistant to help our accountant, or this may require us to hire a bookkeeping service. We haven't fully decided which direction we're gonna go. But these are goals that we put in place so we know what we need to do over the next couple months and even next couple years. As far as building for the future, there's some things that I want to do and that I think will help our company as a whole, but they're not directly related to revenue next week or next month. I want to build more video content, and that'll help us with brand recognition, and that'll help us be more of an authority on the subject. I also want to be known nationwide as a painting expert and a business expert, specifically within the painting industry. I also want to develop a strategy for social media. Now, that is maybe a little bit more of a goal because that is kind of a piece of the other two things. But those are some general things that we're wanting to do to help build brand awareness and build for the future. I'm not just thinking about 5 days in the future, 5 months in the future. I'm thinking about 5 years, 10 years, what it could look like. Because if we're not planning for it, it's not going to happen. And so what happens to a lot of people is they say, I would love to one day do X, Y, Z, but they're not putting things in place to be able to accomplish those things. So guess what? They're going to wake up in 5 years and probably be pretty close to where they are now because they haven't set any goals in place to go after. Ultimately, I just want you to know the importance of setting goals, and it can look a little different. I know some people who write them down, they recite them every day. Whatever you want to do is fine, but it's important that you have goals. Zig Ziglar, I believe it was, said, if you aim at nothing, you will hit it every time. And it's such a true statement. If you don't have a clearly defined target, it's going to be hard to achieve it. A personal thing that happened here in Colorado is I wanted to live in the mountains. I wanted to live in the mountains, but I didn't want it to be too far away from the city. Guess what? A couple years after being in Colorado, we were able to buy a beautiful home 10, 15 minutes from downtown Boulder. We're in the mountains. And it was a clear, articulate goal of what I wanted, and when the opportunity came, it was exactly what I wanted, so I pulled the trigger and we purchased the home. Bill Gates has a quote. He says, people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, and they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. So make a plan, set a goal, and go for it.